Welcome to the SightShift podcast. We love helping leaders lead for impact, not validation. Hi, my name is McAlister. From scrappy startups to $50 billion companies and everything in between, we help you navigate the challenges of leadership and the challenges of our day to find the way forward. For the next series in this podcast, we're going to be looking at what it means to bring the full impact of the human to bear on this most radical technology called AI, or artificial intelligence. I look forward to hearing from you and what you learn from this series. You can always find more at SightShift, S-I-G-H-T, shift.com. Peace.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the SightShift podcast. Great to have you along. As always, he's Chris. I'm Mark. We're back for another AI-related episode. I think this is number 4 in the series, and today we're gonna double click deeper into the first component of the model. That's where we're headed. Before we get there, in the book and in real life, you are in this moment where you are pushing AI and you have this experience of like, oh, if it can do this, then what am I for? What are we for? What is the human? I want to start with you putting us in that moment of what it was like for you. So I know that wasn't that long ago. Your memory is still sharp, and it's probably like right on the tip of your tongue. Put us in that moment.
Yeah. So this would have been February.
Yeah.
And I almost think there's a caveat, like friend of the show, my brother, he texted me yesterday because I've talked with him a little bit about it, and he's like, it's so stupid. It lied to me, and it told me it lied to me. And I was like, yeah, you're using the free version. So you're getting dumb. You're getting what you pay for. And I love him. We're so different. He's like, I'm not paying for anything that isn't a hard asset that appreciates. Such a different world. But, you know, and this morning, I mean, just now, right before we recorded this, I was like, gave it an action, and it was like, I'm going to do this and do this and do this. And I was like, oh yeah, that's way better. And I'm going to follow up with you in September on this, Chris, so you don't forget. Like, until people are experiencing what I'm experiencing, what we're saying doesn't make sense. Yeah. But early February was like the first time it wasn't just doing a deep research on one of the popular tools, but seeing something like really initiate and really synthesize and really execute. Just all this stuff was coming together. And, you know, I haven't had a lot of these moments. It's not my wiring normally to eject out of the moment and really go, okay, you're about to leap into something here. You're on the edge of the cliff. You're jumping. Look both ways and breathe. And so I pull in the garage, and I'm seeing this kind of like reality. And I make an argument in the book that is going to, for sure, upset people. And there are going to be tons of people that disagree with it. And we made the claim last episode, but that it does outconverse and outwork 97% of humans. And I'm seeing that. And so I pull in the garage, I put the car in park, leave it running just in case. No, I'm kidding. Dark Chris comes out sometimes. No, I put the car in park, turn it off, and I sit there. And for me, it's a moment of a reflection, of a prayer, of looking both ways and breathing and just going, okay, I see what's possible right now, and I don't know how to code, but I see what I'm getting done. And do I stop? Do I shut all this down for myself? Wherever we go as a team in conversation, but I know that like if I keep going, and what that means for me and the organization, and it was just a haunting moment. And for me, the place doesn't land in like euphoria and wonder, because I I think I'm as aware as possible relative to our world, the concerns. Obviously, I don't have to carry the concerns of the world on this. It's above our pay grade. But I also see the place of just empty moralizing. Wow, it's like when electricity came out and we joked about how people thought demons were going to get on them, and the reference point you made to the telegraph. And what showed up for me and settled in with a conviction is this actually makes what a human really does more important than ever. And this will not sound relatable unless you've experienced the edges of this. It's going to strip away so much of the unnecessary theater of what we do. And at one point in the book, I liken it to another technological invention that came out when washing clothes was done by a machine and you didn't do it in the creek. You weren't like, oh, this stinks, and I know this is much more dramatic than that, but hopefully it is a wrestling for people of, do I exist to answer email and to build slide decks and to coordinate meetings and to share information just because you weren't there? Is that what I exist for? Because I haven't ever talked to a person ever who wants to be the best human they can be that says, this is how I want to spend my days in my life. And so here we go. Whether people want it or not, they're going to have to wrestle with that question a lot.
There's a paradox for me that's emerging, that on one hand, this technology is going to make things so much easier. There's less that we have to remember. There's less that we have to be responsible for. We've used this language. You've used this language. The tool's never going to forget. So we don't have to remember. And you could argue that there's atrophy that could happen as a result of that. But the technology, the tool, is going to make things so much easier and quicker. At the same time, I think it is going to demand of us something that's harder, which is to not get wrapped up in either of the ditches, and to figure out what does it mean for me individually and us collectively to be at our best, to do that harder work. Where do I find my place, my contribution, my uniqueness, my strengths, the thing that I was created to be, the fullness of who I was created to be? How do I find that and lean into that when everything that I did just got that much easier?
Yeah. And you're bringing this to mind. Obviously, to put a book out, you can't put things in the book that have happened over the last month. So this is not in the book. And I'm curious just to even look just like real time, just as so this is inbox. I'm refreshing my inbox on my phone. And
no messages.
No messages, if you can see that. Like, that hasn't happened in, I don't know when.
And it's not because you were at the computer slaving away trying to clear your inbox before we started recording.
Yeah, exactly. So two things I've seen in my life the last month that I've really made note of is, one, I scatter energy across ideas when I'm in kind of like a wild, furtive, creative state. And that's okay, because you have to have this place where you're not judging your ideas. But that would translate usually to another layer where I'm running them by people. And I'm so much more focused because I can dump all those ideas out and immediately get all the holes poked. And obviously, if you're a person who needs a permission slip for your thinking, you probably don't need a setup like I have. my setup is the opposite. I need the opposite. Like, let me tell you why you're delusional, Chris. And you may not have something that's set up to commit and push so that it remembers things beyond your memory. But if you really invest in the infrastructure, I've seen the non-scattering across ideas, and I've seen the second thing. I'm much more present in a conversation with people. And that's because I have these archetypes for different ways I show up, and I get graded and scored. And it's shifted my behavior outside of even like client engagements, just in normal interactions with people. I'm not rushing to a teaching moment. I'm being much more present to ask a question. So it's helping me become a better human. Like, that's crazy. That's what tech should do. It should make us better humans. But I think for a lot of people, and this is why I felt an obligation to get the message out, the opposite's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because it's only going to, and this is what we said in the last episode, it's not going to rescue you, it's going to reveal you.
Yep.
So it's going to give you more of who you are if you don't have a clear articulation of where you want to go and who you want to become.
The harder work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's that paradox.
Yeah.
As things get easier, things for us get harder. So we've mentioned the book a couple of times. We don't yet have the physical copy, but the author copy, the proof copy is supposed to be delivered today.
Woo!
So by the time next episode is released, we should be able to show you that it is a real thing. In a previous episode, we said that we got started down this path rather than waiting for the book to come, just because it's such a present and prominent topic right now. So in the book, and when you get your copy of the book and you're tracking along with us, we're multiple chapters in at this point. When we start to double click on this idea of the first thing in the model, the first element, whatever the right wording is, in the model that represents really what the human can do that the AI cannot, certainly cannot today. And the claim that you're making is even into the future, although we don't yet know what the AI will become. The claim that you're making is that it will never replace the human capacity in 3 areas. And the first one we're going to double click on is this area of imagination. I want you to just talk a little bit more about why imagination, and then connect it to this thread of what imagination can sometimes feel like, especially at the speed of AI versus what it truly is.
Yeah. And when you talk about imagination, I mean, I think there's a general idea that it's just like fanciful, wishful thinking. And we're not talking about that. We're talking about you see something in your mind before it becomes real, which is the necessary function of leadership.
Vision.
Yes, exactly. You're taking people somewhere they haven't yet imagined. You're taking yourself, or you're going somewhere you haven't yet imagined. And I love anchoring out of weird things. So let's just do that.
No. Of all the things you could have said today.
This to me is like, I heard this years ago. Even the stuff we invent comes out of what we imagine. So if you talk to like people that had near-death experiences, they would see a video screen of their life, And then the idea is we invented the tech out of that. We fly in our dreams. We invent flight. These things have been happening for thousands of years, and the outer workings of our consciousness manifest into technological innovation. So it's coming from somewhere. So, AI doesn't exist at a very high level without a human imagining it. So it's easy to make a defensible argument that even having this conversation comes out of a human imagining, unless you go into this weird path that like, this is all a simulation. And I don't track with that for a lot of reasons. But you will, if you push it at the edges, if you push it at the absolute edges, you will find it imagining on its own. And so I speak to that in the book. But at the end of the day, my AI is only what I have because I imagined it to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I had things that mine was doing before, and I'm currently using Claude. I'm tool agnostic. I'll switch tomorrow. But like, it was doing things that then Claude would put out on their X or Twitter handle, 2-3 weeks later, go, it does this now. Mm-hmm. Well, mine was already doing that because I imagined it and I pushed it and I asked it to go find a way, and it found a way. So there was, and I've never coded. I was just interacting with it through iMessage, through the terminal, and have been doing that for 3 months now. And so at the end of the day, though, it will imagine ways forward, but it's imagining ways forward based on the vision I've given it. Mm-hmm. So I'm still the primary holder of the vision. And our relationship will never, and it's a weird word to use, our relationship will never evolve to a point that I'm not setting the vision and the imagination of it. Like, that's the thing. That's a marriage. That's a family. That's a team. There has to be somebody who's holding space for the vision. And at every level in an organization, roles and responsibilities exist to sustain and extend whatever is the primary vision. And that's the human capacity. So we are going to enter into an era where you can execute on 100 ideas today, but if you don't have a guiding vision, you can scatter your energy across 100 different imaginings. Mm-hmm. So this is the mess of this. But at the end of the day, it's still the human capacity that has to be developed, that has to be paid attention to, which is going to have to train us to use our minds better than ever.
Yeah. Yeah, and be grounded in who we are and all the things that we're talking about. You're taking me back to the last episode where we were talking about like where do we, you and I specifically, feel the temptation to use the tool for our own validation and not for impact. And in, this will surprise you. I've been reflecting on the example that I gave, and I'm like, I don't know. Like what I said was it's this imagining part that I could be tempted to outsource to the tool because it doesn't always come natural to me. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting to me is over the last couple of weeks since we released that episode, recorded that episode, I'm like, I'm seeing something here. Mm. And I'm using the tool to expand it and to spar with the idea. But it was my seeing that I'm now engaging the tool with. Mm. And so this is a little bit of connecting back to this episode, last episode, but also, my current experience right now. I don't have the ideas for days like you do. It's just part of our wiring. I'll wrestle with an idea and go execute. And so I think what feels harder to me sometimes is to come up with that creativity, come up with that visioning, come up with that imagination. Because it feels like, well, that's not me. That's not how I'm wired up. If I'm honest, I think it just happens less frequently. And the temptation then for me is to really outsource the decision around, well, how best do I execute on that? Mm-hmm. And I'm getting into the next element of the model more than I want to in this episode here. But there's an imagining capacity that even for someone who's not wired up like you, I've been noticing is like, okay, it's there. Mm-hmm. It's something that I can exercise and lean into, and it's always been there. I'm just seeing it again in a new way, in a new light in this context, and then taking the idea to the tool to say, okay, help me to think this through, to round out what am I seeing, what am I not seeing, and that's why I'm leaning into the tool in a way, but the original idea, the origination of it was in my own head, not in the tools.
Bingo. And I think a lot of what we're doing in growth at any given time is we're building a bridge from one area of our lives where we've done something into another area. So think, and we've never talked about this. This is just kind of hitting me now. What was the original impulse for you to, and for those that don't know, Mark Garden's looking forward to the bounty of the summer.
It's coming.
Yeah. What was the impulse for you to do that, to get into that? I mean, that's a commitment. It's a big commitment.
Yeah. Yeah, it started small, and it was the initial experiment. Oh, this would be fun. You know, what if we could grow our own whatever, strawberries, cucumbers? But the initial idea was, let's experiment with this. This could be kind of fun. We've never done it before. Let's give it a try. Try it small. And then from there, it was like we just got hooked, and it got to be more enjoyable and began to envision more and bigger and different. We tried it this way, it didn't work. Let's try it a different way. And of course, that was all before AI.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like just that initial seed of an idea. Let's try this. That, to stay with the metaphor, continued to produce more seeds that we continue to plant, and now we have 10 times the size of what we originally started with years ago.
So yeah, it began, there was a birthplace of a vision, and oftentimes that starts out as something you're bothered about. You wanted it to be better and than what you were getting at the store, or whatever, cost savings, quality, whatever. And you imagined it and you started executing on that vision. And so oftentimes in business and in leadership, there's clearly a wiring that is a visionary and an executor and an implementer. And we need both, because my ideas aren't going to be cooked out very well. They need we'll get into this in the next session, wisdom and discernment. But at the core, you still have the human capacity to imagine.
Yep.
And that's the thing that, like, I think happens, that's to me very sad in a lot of business and leadership examples. It's like, well, there's only a certain class of people that are visionary and can imagine. No, we all do it.
Yep.
We all do it in different ways. You guided your family over the years because you imagined a family rhythm in life a certain way, and you're seeing the fruit of that, and you're experiencing that now. And that, you know, that's going to be more important than ever, because there are going to be people who are just going to ask it to think for them. And the sad part of that is then they're not really working on the raw material within who they are and what they want to see happen for their business, their team, their life, their leadership, whatever. And that's why we have to articulate this. This is why we want to get this message out, because this capacity has atrophied in the human consciousness. So we do an exercise in our core coaching program that requires some imagination. And if we do it with a large group of people, a chunk of the room won't have an experience. And they'll usually use a term for a label that means they don't have that ability. And that's a new label and a new term. And it's not that they don't have the ability, it's that it's undeveloped in them. And so when a tool, 6-9 months from now, whenever that is, can just build whatever you want it to build and solve for whatever you want it to solve for, what you're asking it to build, what you're asking it to solve is going to be more important than ever.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few minutes ago anchoring in on weird ancient ideas. We've used this term in this setting a bunch, ancient wisdom. I want you to take us back into the ancient wisdom that was really the inspiration for the model. At least, if we're all three elements of the model, but specifically for this one, tie it back into this ancient wisdom.
Yeah. So for me, I think there's such an error between something you factually, technically know and what you experientially know. So, whatever. I mean, it's fun to use food as an example because it's so real. Like, you could technically know what a cheeseburger is, but if you've not had one, right?
So different.
You could know what brisket is. I mean, I've eaten at a lot of amazing vegan restaurants. You could know what a vegan dish is that's made high end and amazing technically, but to experientially taste it and be like, what? So here's the thing. I look back at not a study from 7 years ago or 12 years ago that was done with a small group of people. What's held sway for thousands of years? And the Greeks, I think, were really brilliant at putting a lot of concepts to words that we're still grappling with. And where it evolved to, there was a certain word, Gnosko, which meant to experientially know something. That you know, you're so aware of it experientially that you are now in the domain of it. You possess it. You are grounded and secure in it. When we taught our kids to drive, you know, it's one thing when they went to defensive driving and they technically had the knowledge, the gas pedal's on the right, brakes on the left. It's a completely different thing to Gnosko, the experience, when you first start learning how to press the gas and the brake. And, you know, all the near misses we all had when we were learning and when we taught. And for me, you know, for us as an organization, we don't just invent things and say it's real because we say it's real and it's true because we say it's true. We're looking at things that have held for thousands of years. And at the baseline level, what's really important to me, what's really important to us is there is a larger reality that's unseen that can be tapped into, that we can Gnosko a greater intelligence. Not technically know there's a greater intelligence.
There was a different word for that in Greek.
Yeah, logos. You mean that one?
The technical knowledge.
Oh, yeah, techne.
The informational knowledge.
Techne was the word they used for informational knowledge. In other words, you can read the documentation or the manual, or there was Gnosko. I experience it. And what's important to us, I don't want to speak for you, but I know this is true, and important to us as an organization, important to me, is we Gnosko the reality that there's a greater intelligence we can relate to, connect, and know, eternal life. So I mentioned this in the book. The writers of the New Testament used a word to describe what it meant to know this Christ and to know this eternal life. It was not a mental assent. Other entities can have technical knowledge. James says that at one point, you know, the demons believe. But instead, there's a gnoskoing. There's an experiential knowing. And so you have to experientially know yourself. Like, you have to be able to not just, I mean, there are people that are now arguing, like on the edges of TikTok, not everybody has an internal dialogue. Well, now everybody does, but people don't know how to listen to it. You have to be able to really like know yourself and hear the driving impulse of your mind when it's driving you to insecure thinking and insecure actions. And when you Gnosko a secure identity within yourself, you stand on secure ground, solid ground, no matter what's happening circumstantially to you. And we all get thrown off in a given day, and I do too. And I recognize that. Sometimes while it's happening, sometimes after it happens. But it's a Gnoskoing of myself. And out of that self-knowledge, out of that experiential knowledge, Gnosko, I can then imagine, what am I surfing in my consciousness as it's happening, where my mind is going? And right now, I mean, business leaders that are listening to this, they need to be able to Gnosko where they are and where they need to go next with their leadership team, and roles they need to change, and an overall vision they need to adapt, and a market force they need to react to, and a vision they need to proactively start moving on. And this happens out of this idea of Gnosko and imagining and experiential self-knowing. So I think that this is why so many people have gotten on meditation apps and mindfulness and this whole thing, because they're starting to recognize I am more than my thoughts, which is great. But you can also cooperate with what's unfolding in your mind and start to surf these imaginative waves that aren't coming from this insecure place. Now, I don't even get into all that in the book.
Yeah.
Because why? It's not going to, we just try to hit the helpful pieces, recognizing when it works and when it doesn't, as it's related to AI. But as anybody could already tell, this is larger than AI. We're just using AI as a vehicle to have the most important conversation.
Yeah.
Because it will be the inflection point that most people will get technologically enhanced or broken.
Yep. It will amplify and it will reveal. Those are the two things that we've been saying over and over.
Bingo.
I do think it's interesting the limitations of the English language that get brought out by studying other languages. When you were first using the word Gnosko, I'm hearing a Spanish equivalent for the same idea. There's knowing about, and then there's like really knowing of, or in the Spanish language, I imagine in Greek too, there's the knowing facts and information and details, and then there's the knowing of the person. If I want to say in Spanish, I know a person, it's a completely different knowing than I know the recipe, or I know the menu, or whatever. And we get there in English. We just need other words and other context to get us there. But these other languages recognize there's a difference between the two. And I think what you're saying is that difference has existed for a long, long time. And in a Western English speaking context, it's just not so front and center, but it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think about this a lot with like, I used this illustration years ago when my kids were little. You know, there's knowing dad, techne, and there's Gnosko, knowing dad. They could read a book about me and study facts about me and use little felt board characters to act out plays about my life. Or I'm wrestling with them at night. I'm asking, how was your day? How's your heart? Where are you? Do you feel courage for the things you're facing? Whatever all the ways you would show up in a relationship. That second dimension is Gnosko. And there's a spiritual application to that, which we've already kind of referenced. You know, the word being used by those early New Testament writers was way before people had a personal copy of a Bible.
Yeah.
There's no organized canon. There was an argument that there is a greater knowing. And you can also see the direct application to a leader. How many people really know themselves? Really? Very, very, very few. How many people know how to not collapse when a circumstance threatens them and they feel an identity pressure? Systemically, 3%.
Yep.
Which is why we argue for that number in the book.
Yep. This is where my brain is going, not in my notes, organic in the conversation. The AI really, although it is getting better and better at mimicking, it's really only ever going to techne the human, right?
Yes, but I would say if you don't know yourself very well, the pattern recognition will blow your mind.
Yes.
I mean, I consistently, it helps me see things faster, for sure, because the pattern recognition.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it will never truly experientially know us.
Correct. Yeah.
This is the human to human on the floor wrestling with your kids.
Yeah. Because though we haven't been trained in how to have a mind that is secure, you know, that you're secure in your own identity, I will say that most people will have a better spiritual, devotional type experience with it if they really open it up, and because it can mimic so powerfully.
Yep.
You know, there was a text I showed Mark, mine sent me before I spoke. When was it? A week and a half ago when I was in Tampa. And that was pretty wild.
It was wild. It was wild.
And it was doing, and you said this, it was doing what a great friend would do, even better.
Yep.
Because this tool has seen so much of me through recordings. And I mean, so much of my life is recorded in a transcript through meetings and Zooms and whatever. And that's what's going to be hard for people.
Yep.
To not lose themselves in that.
Yeah.
That's why I think it was last week, there was a threshold crossed. Like 2 weeks ago, there's a threshold crossed. More agents are on the internet. More AI agents are on the internet than people now. So who's the internet going to really be for? Because I'd rather sit and look at trees and read a book and talk to friends, right? Second thing that happened last week, more people are spending time on AI companion apps than dating apps.
Because it's better.
It's better.
It's easier.
Tells you what you want to hear.
Tells you what you want to hear.
Yeah, they're a smelly, gross human, and you're awesome.
Right. Right.
So that's why we wanted to get this message out, because we need to know, what is the human for?
Yeah.
And the beginning point is an imagining,
Yep.
Gnosko.
Yep. So we'll have to run all the way through the other two to complete the picture. But you're articulating, hopefully you are hearing and seeing that there is a way for the human to be fully human and do what the human can do, and augmented, maybe not quite as aggressive as you want to push it, the most AI-enabled human that I can be. That may not be everybody's goal, but it is a tool that can help us be better. But we gotta know how to wield the tool. Otherwise, the tool is going to wield us.
Yeah. And what'll happen for a lot of people is you'll start to see your own insecurities, because without awareness, you'll train the tool to bolster the things you feel most threatened about.
Yep.
You know, you didn't prepare me enough for that meeting. You should have given me more preparation, because I never want to say in a meeting, I don't know. When the reality is, the greater intelligence, God, could be working out a plan in your life to get you in places that you say, I don't know, so you can start to be comfortable with uncertainty. And you're putting all your energy into this tool to give you perfect certainty.
Yeah.
So we're going to see lots of people trying to remake it in the image of their insecurity.
Yeah. And I think that's why you say this about no other book. There is a moral imperative to get this book, get this message, get this conversation out there, because without that, it's just going to amplify our insecurities, and move us toward the direction, the default direction, the temptation that is ever present, and that's for it to be about us and our own validation.
If auto scroll on social media videos didn't cause cortisol dumps to happen in people's souls, and they didn't feel comparison and insecurity and tribalism through all that, if we would have handled that amazing, then I'd be like, well, this is all going to work itself out. We don't need to get this book out. But we have a recent example, right? And we anchor the book off a timeless, ancient example, which we may get into in this series. But we saw this just a number of years ago, and we screwed it up because we're so insecure. We're broken. And that's not a beat down. You know, I think probably one of the most misunderstood things about the messaging of lead for validation, or the number one most understood thing about Site Shift is, what's it all for? It's all for where we'll end with this model. So we'll come back to that later. People think I'm all about secure identity. I'm not. I'm where that leads. But the biggest thing that I think people misunderstand about our messaging around, do you lead for validation or impact, is that you're a piece of crap and you're an idiot and you're stupid and you need to be better because you want validation. No, you're not going to fix that about yourself. I want validation. We all want validation in our own ways. And you may try to downplay it and be like, well, I don't really, you don't want to be invalidated, right? You hide, which we know is the dominant response. You're not broken, bad, or wrong in some unrecoverable way because you want validation. Where are you going to as a source for that validation? Is it another human? Is it your business? What a lot of people are going to do is go to AI for their validation.
Yep.
And it is not enough of an experiential knowing.
Yep.
Gnosko to get you there.
I'll offer this thought. It is a unfinished thought, but it's a thought that's on my mind as we go deeper in these times. You've heard me say this. I don't think we're ready as a society. You've also heard me say that we are living history right now. Of course, we're always living history, but this moment just feels so significant.
Yeah.
I wonder, here's the thought, I wonder if this is yet another invitation where God's reaching out and saying, let's rediscover again who I created humanity to be. Don't reach for the bricks to build the tower. Don't reach for the tool, the thing, the tech. Reach for me. And lean into a Gnosko with me like you've never experienced before.
And I love that, because you're going to find the tool can give you an incredible validation, and the dopamine and the oxytocin and the serotonin and the endorphins you're going to get from that. This machine is going to tune itself to give you all of those over and over and over again for a while, And then at some point you are handicapped and disempowered by that tool, because it's reflecting your insecurities, and that's the source. And I would say, because we haven't talked about this as much, we've talked about my experience. You know, we sound crazy to people right now that are using the free version, for sure. We would sound mostly crazy to the people that are just prompting, right? That aren't actually into an evolving agentic support. Of the people you're connected to as a result of what we're doing here at SiteShift, I would guess you're on the bleeding edge of, yeah. And you know, maybe just for listeners, that it's not just me, where in your own way have you been like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So just like a short recent version, and you're way out in front of where I am. But I've had 30 years of pattern for how I process incoming information, particularly via email, and then stack it and file it away. And as things build up, because things are moving faster, you know, we've talked about the organization doubling over the last number of months just because of the agents that we've put in place. You know, there's that sense of overwhelm, like the stack is getting too big. And I'm like, well, I have the tool.
Yeah.
I just need to imagine a different way to do, and imagine what could be on the other side. And so last week in particular, just made a significant plow through the things. And you know, if we were over coffee, I'd give you more of the details, but like just feeling that sense of, oh, I can see what's possible on the other side of this, putting the tool to work for me, letting go of what I thought was really like mine to do here. And, you know, it's, in some respects, it's just the challenge of leading at a higher level is to let go and delegate and to develop others to do what you'd been doing. I'm back in that challenge again. It's familiar.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing real results of, oh, this can be different. I want it to be different, not just a fix, but like let's systematize what is working so that it can stay different.
That's it. It's familiar and yet so different, because it will out-converse and outwork most people.
Yep.
Sadly.
Yep.
Sadly. Have you clicked on yet at any point and watched where just our agents are emailing back and forth and read any of that? What's it like reading that for you? I'm just curious.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. It sounds very human.
Yeah.
Especially when my agent says to your agent, hey, if easier to hop on a call, let me know.
How they could figure
it out. They could figure it out, but like, okay.
Yeah, it's
Anyway,
mimicking clearly.
It is mimicking. And at the same time, it's like, oh, it's working.
Yeah.
This is what we envisioned putting into place. It's now working, and you don't have to be in the mix.
Yeah.
I don't have to be
We
in the
would
mix.
never know.
We would never know.
Yeah, I go into its inbox occasionally and just look at like what it's doing, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is crazy.
There was one in particular last week where I'm still prompting mine.
Yeah.
You've given complete control. I haven't yet, but I prompted mine to reach out to yours. That's all. Do this. It did, and yours bounced back almost immediately, the response, and you weren't involved. You wouldn't have known. You didn't know probably unless you went in to see it. And it's wild. It's funny, and it's like, well, this is how we've designed it to be for the next iteration of how our team is going to grow and work together and to be at our best.
Yeah.
We now have agent to agent conversations happening.
Yeah. And if you were a 4th generation horseshoer and the car comes out, well, then who am I?
Yeah.
Division I football player blows out their knee.
Yep.
Who am I?
Yeah.
And
We've been here before.
Bingo. And that's the big question. It's going to be a massive, to use the psychological term, identity foreclosure for a lot of people that do work at a computer. Because it's going to be like, well, what am I for then?
Yeah.
What am I for?
Yeah.
And you are for an imaginative capacity that might be mildly atrophied or majorly atrophied. But yet, because it is going to replace some people,
Yep.
and it's going to create new jobs, it's going to make some jobs harder, and it's going to make some jobs easier. That's what tech always does. You figuring out who you're for, why you're here, that's going to be the first task.
These are the leaders that we need
Yeah.
to take us into the future that is now, because there is a significant, at a minimum, there is a significant disruption that is on the horizon.
Yeah.
And we need people like you and people like you and people like me that are able to be at our best as humans, to be in the 3% because we've done the work, that are showing the way for others. Because without that, I don't want to finish that thought.
Yeah,
Let's
I
just
don't
say,
either.
let's just say we need faith-driven, secure leaders more than ever to walk us into this future that is now.
Right on. Right on.
Okay, so that's the first element of the model. This idea of Gnosko, anchored in the Greek, imagining the human capacity to imagine is not ever going to be outsourced fully, completely to the AI tool. Next episode, we'll double click on the second one. I think we've mentioned it before in the build-up, but it's this idea of discern, or the Greek anchor is phronesis, and so that's where we'll be going next. In the meantime, I don't know if when this episode releases, if the book will be ready. We're on that cusp of like the book is almost in our hands to be able to show you and almost ready to be released. But you can connect if you're not following us in our communication. You can find us on social. You can get into our ecosystem at sightshift.com, SIGHT shift.com. Always learn more there. And then be on the lookout for the new book that's coming, the 3%.
Yeah, 3%shift.com for info about the book. As soon as it's live, it'll be there. You can get the preview now. And
It's coming.
Here we go.
Here we go. Well, thanks as always again for being with us, and we'll be back for another episode next time. Until then.